it's my pleasure to pass the gavel and the magazine column deadlines on to your new president, your friend and mine, Warren Zenker. You want to come up, Warren?
Well, thanks, Steve. I kind of at a loss for words, and that really doesn't happen too often. But I'm completely humbled to be standing here today, and I would like to thank all of you for your confidence in me and electing me to the president of this great organization. Can you hear me all right? When I was thinking about what to say today, I was struggling a little bit, and I thought to myself, you know, I'm going to look back at some past presidents that we have. So, first guy I thought of was Jason Schmidt. And all of you remember the passion, right? Well, I wanted to revive the passion, but I didn't think I could keep you here for an hour and 20 minutes. So, I put that in my back pocket and thought, well, you know, I got a friend of mine, old Steve Brooks. He's pretty savvy with stuff, and I thought, you know, maybe I'll bring the bar napkin back. That was only 5 minutes, so I thought I'd want to take a little more of your time. But my involvement in the Stockman Association began in the summer of 2002 when a longtime mentor and friend of mine, Ray Herbley, approached me about running for the board of directors. And I kicked it around with Linda and asked her, and she said, you know, you've been involved in the cattle business for many, many years. And she said, I think it would be a good idea for you to get involved in the state's leading cattle organization. I returned Ray's call, and Ray's comment to me was, well, that's great. He said, it makes me happy to know that there are young people who are willing to take the time to get involved in the leadership roles of our industry. And I thought about that a little bit, and the two words that I want to concentrate on today are the two words of advice that both of those people gave me, and those two words are get involved. Our industry over the last number of years has changed dramatically. We've gone from record high prices in 2014 to record annual declines in high prices last year. We've got special interest groups that try to buy land. We have animal rights groups that accuse us of not properly caring for our livestock. And we have an environmental protection agency that wants to make every pothole in North Dakota waters of the United States. Now, 20 years ago, it would have been really easy to just kick the dirt, turn around, and walk away and tell yourself, I'll just let somebody else worry about that. But I'm here today to tell you, if we continue that practice, that our industry will be forced to make changes that will be detrimental not only to our livestock industry, but to our entire society and to our food supply. So my challenge to you today is pretty simple. It's take a step forward, be it a simple phone call, involving yourself in a conversation by telling the story of your life, of your industry, and your stewardship to our livestock and to our land. Last summer, I would like to share a couple of examples. Last summer when we were in Denver, there was a group of ranchers that came there and donated their time to sit on a CME working group for NCBA. And they did that to get some answers regarding the collapse of our market. You heard that right. That was producers who volunteered their time to hopefully better the industry by getting involved. At our July board meeting this past summer, it was brought to our attention that HSUS was trying to get a seat at a round table at the Emergency Managers State Convention. We discussed that for a while, and it didn't take long for District 1 Director Levi Rue to get involved, because by the end of discussion, he had a link that we could all click onto to get the numbers of our local emergency managers. I was checking pastures one day, and in between rain showers, I made a phone call to my manager, and I expressed my concern and told him what I felt about the HSUS. And he told me he wasn't sure about who they were thinking about putting on this panel, but he said, I'll give you the name of our state president, and she can tell you who'll be on there. So I made another quick phone call and again expressed my concern. And she told me she was glad to hear from me because her board really hadn't made a decision and they really didn't know what to do. But after listening to our concerns, she assured me that HSUS would never be allowed to partake in their roundtable discussion. So, simple. 2 phone calls, an hour of my time. I really feel I made a positive impact on our industry. I want to reflect on our staff because our staff does things like this and so much more for us every day. First of all, I'm going to start with Stan, who's our Chief Brand Inspector. And Stan, he goes above and beyond his call of duty because it's really been a struggle to try to find full-time inspectors and try to maintain them. But when there's a sale that's 200 miles away that needs to be done, and there's no inspector in charge, Stan jumps in his pickup, runs there, covers the sale to make sure all the cattle are inspected. Then we have Rachel, she's our brand recorder. And we just went through a brand renewal period here in 2015, and that went off without a glitch. And she just did a great job. Thank you for that. We got Trevor. He's kind of the new kid in the block. And Trevor, if you want to come in the room there so everybody can see him, because he is one of the few people that is taller than I am. But Trevor does a great job in his involvement in our association. He keeps each and every one of us informed with the amazing monthly magazine that we get every month. We have a administrative assistant, Mary Gores, and she makes sure that every dollar and penny in and out of this association is accounted for. Sherry Schultz is our office administrator, and she works tirelessly to keep our office affairs in order and keeps us at an above par with the ever-changing technology. Scott's our environmental services director, and he has been very, very instrumental in facilitating numerous constructions of the confined animal feeding operations that we have here in North Dakota. And many of you in this room, I dare may add, have benefited from his services. And finally, Julie. Julie's not only involved on a personal basis with her family, but also on a professional basis as the CEO of the Executive Vice President of our state organization and involved in several national organizations. And it always amazes me when I go to the Capitol and Julie's up there working, how our state lawmakers actually look to her for direction because of her involvement, look to her for direction with ag bills at the Capitol. She's involved with our industry, fighting for you and I on a daily basis. I thank you, Julie, and to all our staff. Now I'm going to introduce my family, and I got a large family, not large, but large. And we have, I didn't mean that in a bad way. I said, right? And we all get along very well, and I'm very happy to say they're all here today. But I'm going to start with my dad, my dad Melvin, who was extremely passionate about ag. And he was that way till the day the Lord took him home 6 years ago. I'm going to move to my mom. She's a very kind and compassionate woman, and I'm not going to lie, sometimes I got to shake my head, but most of the time she's kind and compassionate. She's back there waving her hand. But as kids, we were fortunate to be raised in our house to respect others, treat other people the way you want to be treated, love your family unconditionally, and most importantly, to know that there was a God in heaven who gave his son's life for you and for I. Now, Mom and Dad always assured us that God had a plan for each and every one of us. And I'd like you to remember that phrase for the end of this speech, God had a plan. My dad assured me back in 1997, when we had that bad spring storm, we lost 12% of our calf crop. And he assured me that God would provide. And then he reminded me He said, Warren, I lost 40% of my cows in the 1966 blizzard. I asked him, geez, Dad, I said, how'd you cope with that? He said, well, it was simple. I left it in the hands of the Lord, knowing He would provide, and it was part of His plan for my life. I'm sure many of us, or many of you guys, not me, because I wasn't even born yet, but many of you can remember that 66 storm and what an impact it made financially, mentally, and emotionally on our industry. I have my sister Green, and she's the rowdy one in the family, and she's the one who was screaming here. But Green is the music teacher.
That would be me.
In Tim County. She resides in Steele. I have my sister Shar is here, and her husband Kenny. And Charlene is the assistant to the bishop of the ELCA in eastern North Dakota. They live in Jamestown. My little sister, Julie calls her Tube Top, but Teresa. And Teresa and her husband Jeremy and their 2 children live in Fargo. Teresa is a quality control nurse at Essentia. And lastly, and because I left him last because my mom said he was the most trouble growing up, is my brother Joel. And for those of you who don't know him, and he's the guy in the wheelchair in the back of the room. Now, if you haven't met him, I encourage you to go up and shake your hand and introduce him, because he has a story. On a beautiful fall day in 1988, on his way to officiate a football game, he was involved in a serious car accident, leaving him paralyzed, shoulders down. Now, 2 weeks prior to that, my dad and Joel went over to Ray Herbley's place, and I asked Ray to tell the story, and he said, I can't do it. But they went to Ray's place to look at his small feed yard he'd constructed, because Ray wanted to build Joel wanted to build a yard and wanted some ideas. So, about a week after that accident, Ray and Carol came to the hospital in Jamestown, and Joel was in ICU, and Ray and Carol went into the room, and Ray said, I walked in there, I saw this man laying in bed, and the rope was rotating so he wouldn't get sores. He had a halo screwed to his skull, respirator coming out of his mouth. I touched him, he didn't open his eyes. I called his name, and he said to me, Ray, we're still going to build that yard. That was 28 years ago, guys. And in 1991, he approached Lynn and I, and he said, you know, it always was a dream of mine to feed cattle. And if you guys can provide physical labor, I have the resources to build it. And I'll do your books. Now there's an example of somebody who wants to stay involved in our industry. We've expanded our little 750 head yard to 2,000 head permitted yard, and he still is helping out with the books. I got a fantastic crew at home to work with. I have 2 nephews, Joel's boys, Chris and Mike. Chris is here today, and his wife, Christina. Mike, unable to attend, married with a small baby boy. But they're the grain farmers of the family. Sometimes there's a little friction, grain cattle, but not too often. But they are truly always willing to help me out. And I'm going to tell you, in the last 3 weeks, I need a lot of help. Doesn't matter if we're calving, feeding, harvesting, or planting. We all work together because we are a family operation. When one of us is having some problems in our life and down, the rest of my crew picks it up. That's what we're about. I have a fantastic support team at home. My wife, Linda, 25 years. And, Linda and I have processed thousands of cattle together. We've made a lot of hay, we've rode a lot of miles, and believe it or not, we've thrown a few syringes at each other in the barn. But she's been great, truly blessed to have her as part of my life. And Linda's the safety director at Allied Agronomy, and in the fall of the year, I can call her up, or anytime, but in the fall of the year, I'll call her and I'll say, honey, you know how much I love you. And she said, oh, we got some cattle to work with. We have 2 children. My daughter, Jordan, is here, and she's involved. I'm very proud, both my kids involved in the ag industry, but Jordan is involved in the ag industry as an ag loan officer at the credit union in Napoleon. Her fiance David is here in the back there. David also involved in ag as a agronomist for Dakota Frontier in Napoleon. And Jordan and David will be getting married next June, and we're really happy to have him be part of the family. Both those kids will come home at the drop of a call to help me out whenever I need it, and I thank them very much. We have a son, Brooks, and Brooks is unable to be here. Doesn't look anything like me. He's 6 foot tall and weighs 300 pounds. He has hair. And he has hair. But Brooks was in a wedding, and he was pretty heartbroken that he couldn't be here. But I told him I'm pretty sure the old man can take care of it. But he was my shadow since he was 9 years old, or since he was in diapers. And I can remember as a kid, he always wanted to do something on the farm. And Chris said, you know, you want to be involved in ag? I'll tell you what, we'll see how good you are. So we put him on the grain cart. Well, he was 9 years old. We had a pretty good barley crop that year. We had a couple neighbors to come over and help combine, but we had 80 bushel barley with 3 combines running. Brooks was in an 800 bushel cart, and there wasn't a machine that had to stop. So, to say he's a farm kid is simply an understatement. Brooks was fortunate enough to be able to purchase our neighbor's cow herd a few years ago and bought his own ranch 5 miles north of our place this last year. So still in school, but we're hoping and very excited that he's going to be coming home. So that's my crew at home. But no crew is held together without glue. And we call our glue Bubba glue. Now, our nephew on Linda's side of the family, Bubba, as many of you have heard me call him, he actually has a name. His name is Taylor Lund, and he came to help Linda and I out one spring break. And we had a spring storm that day, and we were shoveling bunks and scraping pads and pens and cabin heifers and doing the normal chores that need to be done in the day. And I got in the house that night and I was shot. I mean, I couldn't move. Bubba was running around like a chicken with his head cut off, telling Linda and I, God, that was such a great day. This is what I want to do with my life. And I looked at him and I said, did you whack yourself in the head? Because it truly wasn't that much fun today. But Chris and I were kind of looking to put somebody on, and I asked Chris his thoughts about Iron Bubba, and he thought it was worth a shot. He came to join our team in the fall of 2007. And truly one of the best decisions that Chris and I ever did. But many of you know Dolly Parton has a song, Coat of Many Colors. Well, Bubba, he's our man of many hats. He goes from trucking to cabin, to running the air drill, to blending all the fertilizer, treating the seed, fencing and haying, to fixing absolutely anything that comes in the shop. Now, Bubba met the love of his life, Lisa, and in July of 2013, he decided to pop the question, and that was a serious challenge for Uncle Warren. Because the problem was Lisa was employed at the corporate John Deere in Waterloo, Iowa. And the commute from Waterloo to the ranch is about, I don't know, Bubba, 680 miles farther than Gackle to the ranch, probably. So when I was approached about this position, my family said, you know, you got to go for it. But I knew I really needed to talk to Taylor, and I called him up and I said, you know, what's your guys' future plans here? And he said to me, well, he said, we really want to come back, but there's just no employment right at the time. And I told him about people approaching me as the vice president, and he said to me, you know, I'll come when I can, but Warren, I can't make any guarantees. So I pondered for numerous days, and then I prayed and I said, Lord, I said, just give me a sign. If you want me to lead this organization, just give me a sign. And man, I am stubborn, so make it blatantly obvious, I said. About a month after that, we were cabbing. Taylor was actually home from the cabin. He got out one Saturday and jumped in the four-wheeler. We started checking cows, and he was kind of giddy, and he pokes me in the elbow. He said, hey, Lisa's coming home this weekend. We got some big news. I said, oh. So I was thinking maybe she, I don't know, was getting a different job, but I really didn't say that. But just kind of thinking, and I said, well, when are you going to tell me the secret? Oh, we're going to tell it tonight. Well, about 30 seconds later, he can't keep a secret for nothing. 30 seconds later, he said, well, Lisa's got a job interview. She came back to interview for the John Deere City Group in Valley City. They offered her a position. They moved back to North Dakota. And were married in 2014. If not for Taylor's commitment and involvement in our operation, I wouldn't be here today. So, I guess I got the sign I was looking for. I truly believe part of God's plan for my life is to lead this organization. It appears that God also has another plan for our lives. We were just truly blessed to find out we have another family here in this organization, and the friends and colleagues that we've made here. 3 weeks ago, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. Your love, prayers, and support have been amazing. Now I'm going to close with this. The two main points I want to leave you with today. First and foremost, remember that God has a plan for all of us. And secondly, get involved. Get involved in your family, in your kids' lives, your business, and your industry. But most importantly, get involved in the plan that God has for you. Thank you very much.